So hello and welcome back to another Lives of the NPCs where my cat is doing laps of the house because he has zoomies. So if you hear that in the background, sorry about that. Cats are gonna cat. Anyway, this week we are back with a comment suggestion that I just had to run with, because it is another one of World of Warcraft's lovable idiots, and that is Budd Nedreck. Budd is an interesting case, though, because Budd was not always a lovable idiot. In fact, when people first met Budd back in Burning Crusade, he was actually quite well-spoken and quite the snob. He owed a whole lot of money to Grifta. Grifta is a troll who sells you a lot of junk. And he sells you stuff like soap on a rope and all sorts of other things. If you're an engineer, he actually sells you one very needed piece of equipment to make your gyrocopter. So he does actually have a few useful things, but mostly Grifta is known for, well, the art of the grift. But back in Burning Crusade, Grifta gave you a note and sent you off to Budd. Grifta's note was kind of to the point. His note said, "Hey Budd, this is the last idiot that I'm sending you until you pay me what you owe me." Because Budd was after treasure. And everything pointed to Zul'Aman, but Budd was not going to go in there and get that treasure himself. Instead, he sent adventurers in, anybody he could find. Nobody came back. So, he just had to keep getting more and more and more adventurers to go in. So, as the player, you're the adventurer this time. He sends you in, and you have to dispatch Hexlord Malcross. And that was the raid boss in there. And you have to go in there, fill in the missing parts of the map, dispatch the Hex Lord, and through all of this, Budd was the brains of this operation. He was completely insisting that one day you would also get to partake in wealth beyond your wildest dream. Funnily enough, though, as soon as the Hex Lord was defeated, he was going to take all the glory for himself. So later on, after players returned to Zul'Aman, killed Zul'Jin, and retrieved the blood of the warlord, they were then told to return to Budd. The quest text read, "As you examine the pulsating vial, your thoughts turn to the petulant little man outside of Zul'Aman. You can't wait to see Budd's expression when he sees this." Well, when he sees this, Budd takes the vial of blood and tosses it into a burning building. He's bragging about all of his triumphs, taking all the credit for Zul'Jin's demise. This would be bad enough, and I'm sure at that point a lot of players wanted to just take out their sword and run Budd through. He got his just desserts, and after Budd threw the blood into the fire, blood and Budd. That was an interesting little rhyme. Anyway, after he tosses blood into the fire, Budd was swept into the air by malevolent spirits and thrown into the fire, where he then proceeded to run around on fire for a while. And that was, for a lot of time, the last time people saw him. He was an irritating person. I was going through the forums, and a lot of people who are going back in Classic, which you can now play this quest chain again in Classic WoW, a lot of people absolutely hate Budd because it's a, single person turn-in quest. Everybody else has to wait. Sounds like it would be a big pain in the butt. And that's probably where everyone thought they would never have to see Budd again. They probably figured Budd died. But no. Budd kind of lost his mind that day, but he and his friends all headed up to Grizzly Hills. And that is the next place where you find Budd. Budd and his band of treasure seekers and troll slayers have gone to Grizzly Hills to search for new things. What Budd suffered in Zulaman had a little bit of a side effect. Budd pretty much lost his mind, and when you meet him in Grizzly Hills, he thinks that he is a troll. In fact, he thinks it so much he's wearing a troll mask. His friends didn't want to leave him behind, so they're using him as troll bait. You know, they say Budd's simple now, but that kind of is his protection. And they ask you to take Budd along and just capture some trolls because they're trying to figure out a few mysteries up there in Grizzly Hills. So you take Budd along, and Budd just thinks that he's playing troll tag. Actually, what he's doing is knocking the trolls on the head with a frying pan. The whole time he is up there doing it, he's shouting, "Tag!" to anybody that he happens to hit. It's kind of wonderful. Now, that is not the last place we saw Budd. No, because in Cataclysm, Budd was in not one, but 2 zones. Budd was first at Vashir. He was one of the first things that you see, and unfortunately, if you're on the Alliance side, you don't get to see it anymore. When you go into Vashir on the Alliance side, you just get a loading screen, and then you are in Kelpthar Forest. But if you're on the Horde side, the last time I went through to Vashir on a Horde player, you do get to still see Budd. It's wonderful. He gets very excited. He's sailing on a boat. He yells, "I'm sailing!" And then he gets attacked by Azamat. And Budd ends up at his very own little dig site in Kelpthar Forest, where you get to help him because he's lost his gunpowder. So you have to go and collect some cannonballs for him, make him a new barrel of gunpowder, because he's decided that he is going to defeat the shark Naws. After he defeats Naws, he gets distracted by shinies, because Budd is a little bit simple. You know, that's part of what we love about him. He defeats Naws and gets distracted by a shiny and gets turned into a skeleton. He finds out that the only way to not be cursed as a skeleton is to destroy the shiny, but he can't actually do it. He gives you the hammer that he has you go and collect, and you take the curse off him. That is not the last place that we see Budd, though, because he also appears in Thistle Shrub Valley in Tanaris, near the entrance to Uldum, along with his good friend Adara and the rest of his happy little crew. Budd and Adara and the crew are heading into Uldum for what else? Well, for treasure seeking. Unluckily, the caravan gets ambushed by the mercenaries that were hired by the Tolvier to kill intruders. After you get captured, Adara picks the locks to get at least you and she out of the cages. Budd comes up with a plan. And amazingly enough, Budd's plan works. You also got to see Budd if you were in the Molten Front, and Budd also shows up in the Garrison Tavern looking for shiny things. I don't know if Budd actually made it into Dragonflight. I have not seen him. If you've seen Budd in Dragonflight, drop it in the comments down below, because I haven't found him yet. But there's a lot of cameos in Dragonflight, so I'm guessing he's out there still looking for shinies. Anyway. So that is this week's Lovable Idiot NPC. I love these characters. I love all of the NPCs that I look into. The idiots make me smile, and some of the other NPCs that I've looked into just kind of almost make you want to cry. So if you have an NPC that you would like me to check into, please drop it in the comments down below. I might look into some of the others. I did get a couple other suggestions on last week's video, so we'll see what we are going to be doing next week. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed our little dive into the life of Budd Nedreck, who, as everybody knows, Nedreck is just redneck with a few letters transposed. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please hit the like button on your way out, and I will see you next time.